A Chinese delegation will go to Indianapolis this week to claim a massive trove of artifacts brought to the U.S. by an eccentric Indiana collector. The FBI seized about 360 ancient items from ceramics to weapons in 2014. In a story you'll see only on CBS This Morning, Anna Werner reveals what else the government found. She's been working on this story for months. Anna, good morning.
Good morning. And these artifacts were part of a vast collection gathered by a man named Don Miller. He was 91 years old when the FBI showed up at his home in 2014 for what may be the largest seizure from a private collection ever. They said Miller wasn't supposed to have many of those rare and ancient items. Now we're learning some unsettling information about what else the FBI found. When the FBI showed up at Don Miller's home in rural Indiana in 2014, it was a shock for people who knew him.
He was very beloved. He was very charismatic.
Former local reporter Liz Dykes interviewed the 91-year-old former engineer about his time in World War II, his missionary work in Haiti, and most of all, his huge collection of artifacts from around the world.
The entire house is a museum. There are things everywhere. It was just mind-blowing.
Miller even gave tours of his collection. So when the FBI came calling, she says,
I wanted to know what they were looking for. There had to have been something.
There was something the FBI hasn't talked about until now.
So large. When I first went into his house and saw the size of the collection, it was unlike anything we'd ever seen.
Tim Carpenter heads the FBI's art crime unit. Unlike anything you'd ever seen.
Not only me, but I don't think anyone even on the art crime team.
FBI photos never before shown publicly give a glimpse of the collection. Some 42,000 items, including pre-Columbian pottery, an Italian mosaic, and items from China, some that Miller labeled Chinese jewelry from 500 BC.
Roughly half of the collection was Native American, and the other half of the collection was from every corner of the globe. This piece, as you can see, it was labeled by Mr. Miller.
The problem, Carpenter says, was that the FBI found a lot of it had been illegally obtained. Miller admitted he'd gone on digging expeditions in foreign countries and around the United States for decades, in violation of antiquities laws. Did he understand that he had obtained some things illegally?
He did.
So he admitted that?
He did.
Miller eventually agreed to let the FBI seize some 5,000 artifacts so they could be returned to their countries of origin. But Carpenter says all the FBI's careful planning couldn't prepare them for another, more disturbing discovery.
About 2,000 human bones.
2,000?
To the best of our knowledge right now, those 2,000 bones represent about 500 human beings.
Those human remains, he says, were also dug up. Nearly all of them from ancient Native American burial sites. Okay, that sounds like a staggering number.
It's very staggering.
Why would anybody have that many human bones?
I don't know. I truly don't know.
Native American burial sites dating back thousands of years have been a source of fascination for archaeologists for decades.
Meticulous care must be exercised.
This old government film showed the excavation of an ancient Native American village in Alabama. Over time, many other sites have been looted by people seeking artifacts and even skeletons.
This comes down to a basic human right.
Holly Cusack McVeigh is a professor of anthropology brought in by the FBI on the Miller case.
We have to think about the context of who has been the target of grave robbing for centuries. Whose ancestors have been collected for hobby. And this comes down to racism. They aren't digging white graves.
Experts determined the remains found at Miller's residence likely came from Native American tribes, including the Arikara. In North Dakota, tribal official Pete Coffey is working with the FBI to bring them home.
All too often here, we have been treated as curiosities rather than a people here. It could very well be my own great-great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother, that had been, I characterize it as being ripped out of the earth,
Miller died in 2015. We wanted to know what his widow thought about all of this.
Hi. Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
So we went to Miller's home, where a Chinese terracotta warrior figure stood guard outside.
can't comment on any situation at this time.
But Carpenter believes in his later years, Miller understood the ramifications of what he did.
I think he felt compelled to try to do the right thing and return these home.
Returning those Native American ancestors home, which is what Carpenter says is the FBI's most important mission now.
You have to treat these people with dignity. These are human beings and people. It matters. It has meaning to people today. It has meaning to our children and their children.
Well, so far, the FBI has already returned items from Miller's collection to several countries, including Cambodia, Canada, Colombia, and Mexico. They've already returned some Native American ancestral remains to tribes in the South Dakota region and are planning a large-scale repatriation of remains to other tribes in the coming months. Wow. It's a big project. It's going to go on for years.
A very unusual story.
Yep.
I'm still thinking about that life-size statue right outside the home when you went to go
terracotta.
visit. Yeah, the terracotta.
Have you ever seen the terracotta soldiers in China?
No, never.
I have. They're pretty impressive.
Never.
Thank you, Anna.